Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletters so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Shannon Eggleston. Shannon Eggleston is a naturopath in Newport Beach, California. Wish we could all live there by the beach. Oh my gosh. And the author of a book called The Truth About Scars and Roadblocks to Healing. And you can find out more about Shannon Eggleston and her wonderful work at her website, www.naturalhealingcenter.us. Welcome, Shannon Eggleston.
Nice to meet you, Catherine. It's my pleasure.
Now, Shannon Eggleston, you're a naturopath and you've written a book about scars and roadblocks to healing. What exactly is a scar?
A scar is a break in the skin that is healing, that is not the same color of skin. So a scar is a mark on the skin anywhere.
Okay. And I asked that question because a lot of times we think, oh, well, I know what a scar is, but maybe not. Now, how do scars impact not only the physical body, but also the energy body?
Catherine, that's about the biggest one. That's a big mouthful. It impacts it by stopping the flow of electricity around the body. It stops the flow of electricity.
Now, what's interesting is I'm a yoga teacher. I'm 63. I've taught yoga for 27 years. I still teach yoga 8 times a week. And one of the things I joke about with my clients is older bodies. So, for example, my car now is a 4-year-old Prius, but my previous car was 10 and a half years old when I traded it in, and it had a lot of dings. And I talk to my clients about literally older bodies have more dings in them, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So as an expert on scars, if you were going to estimate how many scars do you estimate the average person actually has on their body?
The average person probably has approximately average around here because of the athletics. I'd say always 6 because it's knees, elbows, and whatever else someone got. So an athlete might have up to 15 or 20. Average is about under 10.
So the average person has under 10 scars, right? And you said about 6 scars, right?
Right.
Now, and one of the things that I was wondering is there a difference between scars from accidents? So you cut your finger, you're in a car wreck, whatever, you scrape your knee, and scars from medical procedures, like you have open heart surgery or C-section.
Even a scratch in your gum, every scar counts. If they heal well, they heal well and go away. And if they don't heal well, there's our problem.
So I remember years ago, I had a friend and he was actually a victim of, he'd been shot. He had gunshot wounds on his body and there were scars from gunshots. And again, so this discussion about scars, because the average person has at least 6 scars, usually under 10 scars, this is going to pretty much apply to both of us, all of us, right?
Yes.
You and me and everyone in our audience.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask, is there a difference between scars from accidents and scars from medical procedures?
No. The difference that we're looking for is like the bullet wound. We're looking for what's being caused adhesions. So adhesions are the problem a lot of times with every scar. But if that's the whole thing, is you don't want adhesions. You don't want to have a scar that's in a trauma. So really all scars matter. And whether you got it from an oven or your toe or stitches or yes, they all matter.
And here's a question, because I would suspect if you go to see a surgeon, like let's say you have open heart surgery, and I've definitely
Oh,
scars from open heart surgery, it would seem like a scar from a medical procedure might be more precise or more linear. What
I
is
think,
your experience?
Catherine, I think you're right. I always think about scars on the surface, but then when you have an open heart surgery, there's scars in the bones, there's scars in the tissue, there's scars. There's so much more that can go wrong with a scar, but it still absolutely deactivates the meridian. So that is just stops your mainline meridian, and then your back can be weaker. Yeah, there's a lot involved.
Lot involved. Now, for our audience, will you explain what exactly is an adhesion?
When the top of the skin is attached to the bone or the muscle, skin is supposed to rub over, it's supposed to be loose like a glove. And an adhesion is when something's adhering to the skin. C-sections are a great example because the skin is supposed to move over it. And all bad scars, burn scars, anything that it's just melted into the muscle, it needs to be worked to where it is like a glove.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, and I'm going to paraphrase, and you can tell me if I've got this right. So for our audience, an adhesion is any place where a scar has melded together the skin, the muscle tissue, and the bone, and the connective tissue.
Correct.
Okay. Now, how do old scars impede our healing?
They block the meridian. They can impede the healing by first not allowing something to move fluidly. It can block our pathways of electricity, which shut down that side of the body. It can block, and oh, that's really the worst of it.
Okay. Now, for our audience, and here we are at the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. So many of our audience knows a lot about natural healing, but I still like to go back to the basics.
Please.
What is actually an acupuncture meridian?
An acupuncture meridian is a line of electricity that is in a loop. They're all connected on one side of the body, and then there's a main frame right down the midline. And an acupuncture meridian could be likened to a freeway, and it's a pathway. To understand how the electricity works up and down is you could actually stand if you imagine standing with 5 of your friends and one person is electrified on this side and it goes all the way through to this side, this person will get electrified because the electricity passes through. When you have a scar, it cuts that. And right where the electricity gets the scar blows up. And it causes a lot of problems because that scar is going to blow up and get all the other electricity. And then one day someone moves and then I don't know what happened. My head just started burning because you had a scar in your neck that you were watching the football game and all of a sudden you went like this and the electricity all exploded and it started to go around the meridian again. It can cause a lot of pain, but then it feels better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So I love your explanation. And I know many in our audience is really wanting to learn more about natural healing. So I'm going to add this, an additional explanation of meridians. So you can think about your acupuncture system as rivers of energy in your body. And every organ in your body, all the major organs, like your heart meridian and your heart and your small intestine, your large intestine, and so on, and the liver and the gallbladder, they all have acupuncture meridians that bring energy to them. And not to get too technical, but as a medical intuitive, one of the things that I do is when someone has a disruption is I look at where is the disruption in the energy flow. So follow me, if you will. So you have a main line of energy, and it's called your Hara line, H-A-R-A. And you can think of it like a conduit, like the big line of electricity going into you. And it starts above the crown of your head, goes all the way through you, through your spine, all the way down into the earth. And then the heart line feeds energy into your chakras. Now, what are chakras? So chakras are vortexes of energy in the body. And there's 7 main chakras. And then lots of people talk about there's minor chakras, like you have minor chakras in your hands and feet, for example. And then, so the energy flows through the heart line into your chakras. The chakras feed energy into the acupuncture system, these rivers of energy. And then the meridians feed energy into your organs.
Yes.
And the organs feed energy into your muscles. Now, the reason that I bring this up, because we're talking with Shannon Eggleston, the world expert on scars, is that when you have a disruption anywhere in this energy system, it can cause pain anywhere, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, for example, as a medical intuitive, people might, let's say you have low back pain. Let's pick that one. Just
Good one.
so many people have that. Well, it's like, okay, where is the disruption in the energy? And because it's your body, you think, well, it's the muscle. It could be your muscle, but it could also be the organ. It could be the chakra. It could be the meridian. It could be the heart line. And you have to, by understanding how energy flows in your body, again, to the heart line feeds the chakras feed the acupuncture system, the acupuncture meridians feed the organs, and then the organs feed the muscles, right?
Right. And you remember the meridians go through the teeth too, so that a belly button ring or a scar on your gums can also cause the lower back to be sore.
Yes. Okay. And it's so funny. I love that you brought up belly button rings, because I've had clients who were younger and they pierced their belly button, which is terrible.
For the thyroid and everything, your spine. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And they put in nose rings. I joke with them, your parents are going to slip me a 50 for telling you to get rid of your belly button ring and your nose ring. So for our audience,
it's true.
It's so, I know you and I are laughing, right? Because we understand it, but the younger people who are wanting to look cool and beautiful, they literally don't understand what they're doing.
It can keep them from having a baby.
Yes. So can you, for our audience, Shannon Eggleston, what is wrong with belly button piercings and nose piercings?
Well, the midline meridian, the central river of energy that flows like a river through your body, strengthens. It is the line that your stomach, your private parts, your sexual organs, your throat, your brain, your thyroid, your spine. Oh, come on. And let's say that's exactly what's happening. There's electricity flowing through you. And then when you get the beautiful belly ring, it stops. It stops right there. So your thyroid does not get the electricity running past it. Your pituitary does not. It ruins your stomach acid. It can give you headaches. It can give you terrible backaches. It can stop your spine from healing or even growing. So we have people with multiple organ problems. Nothing's rushing past anything. Out comes the belly button. They stand up and they go, oh, I can breathe for the first time since I was 16. And you'll think, thank you.
Yeah.
Now you're going to rub that scar every day, 4 minutes for the next year. Make sure that it's healed. You've got to let me check it. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just by removing the belly button ring. Isn't it crazy?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Some people have terrible scars that cause vulva pain. Just a C-section, the whole amount of pain in the lower extremities caused by scars is shocking. And so the nicest thing to know is if you bash in one of your toes, it can hurt everything. If the same idea as the belly button, you're so right, you know?
Yes. And since we're talking about the flow of energy in the body, it's important to understand that in the body, there's 72,000 what's called nadis, NADIS. If you want to go Google what is a nadi, and they all originate in your belly button.
Wow.
So if you pierce your belly button trying to look cool when you're 16, you can disrupt the flow of energy for your entire life. unless you work with somebody like Shannon Eggleston
Or you.
or me. And the first step is to get rid of your belly button ring and your nose ring. And since we're talking about this, what's wrong with nose rings or nose piercings?
Well, they're number one, usually metal, and the metal can attract the electricity away from a meridian as well. Piercings can cause scars. So it can affect your teeth, it can affect your eyesight, it can affect your anything on the line, the meridian, the stomach line, the anything on that meridian line, the river of energy that it affects. It's just never good.
Never good. And I want to point out for our audience and those of you who are listening, I'm going to just do my best to describe it. On the very side of your nose, so if you think about a straight line down the side of your nose, right at the point, I could say where I'm touching, that acupuncture point where a lot of people put a nose ring is an acupressure point for the pituitary gland. So you put a pierce there and you're affecting your pituitary gland, you're affecting your brain.
And your stomach acid.
And
it can drop your stomach acid right out. Then you don't get your nutrients. You're eating food and you're not getting nutrients, and you don't know why you have parasites because your stomach acid's gone. It's pretty. It's not pretty.
It's just crazy what these things can do to you that you don't even realize because you think you're trying to look cool. Now, with that, let's take a break and listen to one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. And we'll be right back with more wonderful information from Shannon Eggleston, naturopath and author of The Truth About Scars and Roadblocks to Healing. Now, Shannon Eggleston, you are a naturopath and the author of The Truth About Scars and Roadblocks to Healing. A lot of us in natural healing develop a specialty. How did you get interested in treating scars?
I took a class called Nutrition Response Testing from the Euler Nutritional Systems. And it's a 13 steps of the organs, and the skin is the largest organ. So my mentor would test the skin and ask, is it wheat germ or sesame seed oil? And then just go on from there to test the rest of the body. So it was part of my education. The interesting thing is I'm the one with 30 different scars because I surfed as a kid on a reef. And so I was the child at the front of the class. And are you still blocked or switched? Scars can stop you from healing. Your nervous systems just get blocked or cut, or they turn against you. That's called a switch. And I was constantly blocked or switched. So it made me realize how much pain can be caused and how having a nervous system that's absolutely just wrecked because of scars really brought it to my attention when I started to feel better. I had a practitioner, Dr. Joe Teff, test me, and he says, you have another scar. And I'm like, no, I don't. But he was doing an electrical current, and he knew I did. And it brought the attention to a lumpectomy scar I had as a child and forgot all about. And lo and behold, I started functioning. And so it's one of those self things. When you realize how much better you feel and how much stronger and how much, everything just gets improved. Your thinking, your speaking, your strength, everything is affected by your largest organ. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so for our audience, can you share more information about our skin? Because, we see our skin every day when you look in the mirror.
It's true. It's true.
Tell us more about our skin.
Oh, it's alive. It's a beautiful thing. It's all of the cells change. You can heal just about anything, and skin's one of those things. I've seen the worst burnt all the way from the chest down, fire victims heal so nicely. Skin has many different layers, 7 different layers, and then it's being constantly fed by the water and your nutrition. Skin can change overnight just drinking water. Skin can change overnight from a bad wound. Um, Proper wound care is a different thing, but skin is an alive organ. It is the largest organ in your endocrine system. People don't think about it as an organ. They think about, I'm a sausage and that's the skin and it doesn't matter. Skin matters so much more. I've seen miracles happen with doing scar treatments, but the skin itself is alive. And it really, some surgeons believe that you should just let things dry. But then if you let the scar dry and it heals, and if that's lovely, but if it doesn't heal, then the skin is not happy at all. And so nutrition, water, food, oil, skin, the nutrients that go into healing skin. That's my take on it. I don't know if I can be any more excited about it.
Okay, this is very important information because so many of us, like you said, the average person has at least 6 scars. Now, can you explain for our audience what is fascia and how do scars affect our connective tissue?
The fascia, the skin, the dermatome, fascia is something that you, let's say, let's take the thighs. Let's say the fascia is being rubbed to get rid of the cellulite. So you have to rub the cellulite and get the fascia to lay down so there's no bumps. So you are treating the skin to rub out the cellulite. That's interesting. The same way that you would rub out the cellulite, you could also rub out a scar. So skin is able to, and there's dermatomes. The fascia has different parts of the body where if you have a backache, you should do the fascia on your pecs. If you have headaches, you probably should do the pecs and the rhomboids, and of course check all the meridians. But the skin itself, because of the pathways of electricity running through it, it's so much more exciting than just covering for a sausage.
Okay, another fabulous explanation. I'm going to add this explanation from my own work. So if you think about fascia, another way of thinking about it is the web of connective tissue throughout your body.
Yeah.
And it connects everything. The fascia system, my understanding, is the only system in the body where every cell is connected literally to every other cell in the body. And there's something, and I explain this to my yoga students, there's something called the tensegrity principle. So let's say you take your shirt and you stretch your shirt at the corner of your shirt. Well, that can affect, if I pull on, say, the bottom of my shirt, it can affect the entire fabric of my shirt. And so when we have an injury or a scar, and that affects your connective tissue, well, it literally can affect every organ in your body. And this is why sometimes where we feel the pain is not necessarily the cause of the pain. And Shannon Eggleston's nodding her head. So you may have a low back pain, but the injury is not actually to your lower back. It could be someplace else. Now, my understanding also from my 27 years teaching yoga, because again, we're all aging and everybody's been, I tell people, you've lived through a lot and your body's been through a lot, just like my car, which is, even my 4-year-old car has dings in it. You know, when you get your new car and you're so proud of it, and then that first ding, you're just like, oh man. But then after a while, it's like, there's lots of dings. It's like, well, there's another one, right?
Right.
So, but my understanding is, such as it is, when you have an accident or an injury or a scar, the connective tissue in your body remains fluid at the site of the injury for about 6 months. And then it crystallizes and hardens. And that is why it is so critical when you do have an injury or a scar that you get some kind of body work within 6 months. Anything to add to that, Shannon Eggleston?
Yes, Catherine, the sooner you get the body work, the better it is. If you can stop it from swelling, if you can do the lymph drainage around the wound, apply colloidal silver and I like a colloidal silver and a 3M waterproof bandage, but I live at the beach. As long as you have a stick, a non-stick bandage that's going to breathe somewhat, within an hour, the sooner I tap around the wound and say, it's okay, so it doesn't swell like a snake bite.
Mm.
And then I really believe in getting the body work immediately, but the wound care by having the colloidal silver immediately, 500 parts per mil, kills all bad bacteria, fungus, and virus. It kills everything bad and keeps everything good. So it promotes healing. You get the bandage on, and I see adrenals calm down like that. So by getting the adrenals calm, your body does not swell. And if you can keep it from swelling and keep it liquid and fluid around the whole body, you don't have to suffer with a scar that has adhesions and becomes crystallized. Oh, I just love how you said that.
Now, let's get practical for our audience, because everybody's going to be listening are like, okay, I've got at least 6 scars, and maybe, again, if you've had a car wreck or you've been shot or, had burns, many more scars. So for our audience, will you explain, you're the scar expert, what do we need to do when we get a scar? What do we need to do? What are the actions we need to take?
The actions on a scar, as soon as it's scarred over, I keep it covered from the sun until the skin is the same color. I like to use the silicone tape. I really believe you'll know everybody's skin is different, but I like when the scar is scarred over to keep it covered with a band-aid or a silicone tape, depending on how bad it is. If it's and make sure you move the skin over the tissue so it does not adhere. It does not. If you leave it and you don't move the area, it can still have adhesions after that scar's been already formed. So the idea is keep it moving, and be sure to check for the scar. There's epithelial, there's skin around your bones as well. So that skin can be damaged and you want that to heal as well. But that's what I would make sure that you have I like to take organic sesame seed oil and rub it 4 minutes twice a day. 4 minutes twice a day is one way to do a scar treatment. Another scar treatment would be ASEA, is a salt water that's been diced into a healing molecule to match our healing molecule. And I love ASEA on a scar. It does lovely things. I just put it on, the ASEA spray for basics, and there's a gel also. But you just put it on and call it a day, twice a day. ASEA twice a day, or if you're somewhere you don't know about ASEA, organic sesame seed has to be organic, or organic wheat germ oil. I like it from Standard Process, but you can buy it anywhere. So that's what I do for scars.
Okay, now what exactly is ASEA oil or ASEA gel?
ASEA spray is a salt water that's diced into act like a healing molecule. And the man who made ASEA, got a Nobel Peace Prize for matching our healing molecules. So it heals as soon as it touches anything. You can swish your mouth if you have a cut in your mouth. You can put it in your eyes if you have eye pain. It's just wonderful. I originally started using it for eye pain or muscle pain because it just makes everything feel better. Once I realized how beautiful it is on scars, oh, my life got so much easier because I didn't want to rub my scars 4 minutes with oil anymore twice a day.
All right. Now, I had also heard about helichrysum. I recommend my clients, if they have an old scar, say you have a C-section scar, to take the essential oil of organic helichrysum and rub that along the scar. And what I tell people is, let's say you have a vertical scar, we'll rub the helichrysum vertically and then horizontally, right? So
yes, horizontally. I love it both. You have to stretch it like the t-shirt. I love that.
yeah,
And
so
you know what else is known for that is rosemary. Rosemary is known for that. There's everyone has their favorite oil and then rose oil, but I love your idea. It's my first time hearing. That's beautiful. I think people around the world have their different oils that they use, but using an oil and doing cross fiber on the scar as well as up and down, lengthwise.
and You mentioned about rubbing organic sesame oil or wheat germ oil on the scar 4 minutes twice a day. And when people actually do that, what results can they experience?
You can experience better sleep, less pain, more beautiful skin. I just love that less pain thing. It works great.
Yeah, we could all go for that. Now, in your professional opinion, what are the worst scars that you've seen?
The worst scars that I've seen are scars that have reactivated. They've healed up. A good example is a back surgery. I went to massage the back just to say, there, it's going to be okay. And she broke out crying. She broke out crying like, oh my gosh. And so I had no idea how badly scars could hurt and make you cry. There's an emotional component to scars too.
Okay, let's follow up on that. So what emotional component do you find as a part of the scar?
The emotional part of the component would be the scar that hasn't healed. There were so many emotions when the person got the scar, is really the best way to say it, that emotional havoc was the whole time that the scar was healing, whether it was a painful accident or a painful back surgery, and they never dealt with the emotions. The emotions get locked into the scar somehow. And years later, we talked about how healing the scar holds electricity, and you go to touch it or move a certain way, and out comes the emotions and all the electricity to start the meridians going again. That's what I see happen.
Beautiful explanation. And really, we're talking about trauma, right?
Yes, terrible trauma.
Yeah, lots of people talk about treating trauma, but you don't hear people talking about what you're talking about, which is actually healing the scars. Because
Right.
if you've had a physical accident, let's say you were in a car wreck, well, there's going to be emotional trauma and physical trauma as well.
Yes.
And with that, let's take another break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio. And we'll be back to hear more true wisdom from Shannon Eggleston, naturopath and author of The Truth About Scars and Roadblocks to Healing. So Shannon Eggleston, how do old scars impede our healing?
Old scars can impede our healing, Catherine, by blocking the meridians. If the scar never got cleared, it doesn't matter how old it is, it's still blocking the meridian. That electrical pathway, the river of energy that flows on each side of the body. And an old scar can actually affect the other side of the body. So it needs to be dealt with.
Now, you and I both agree that body work is helpful for healing scars. What kind of body work do you recommend for people wanting to heal their scars?
I believe that I really love massage. Clinical massage where you use an oil. I saw a video once where they lined up the tissue by rubbing cross fiber both ways, across and lengthwise, and they showed the fibrous scar tissue being like a haystack, and then after 3 weeks of massage, it lined up like perfect tissue. You couldn't tell that there'd been a scar there when they took the picture of the tissue. So really, I do believe that massaging twice a day, whether it's with salt water or your favorite oil, I really do believe the oil is the best. That's my training. And it really does provide results. It opens up the pathways of the healing, the rivers of energy, the meridians. It opens them up. If you do it twice a day, it lasts about 8 hours. So you get better sleep and you get better healing and better digestion. And we've talked about that. But the old scars are sometimes the trickiest one. I met a man that had a sword in him. He was from the First World War. And I'm like, that's a terrible scar. And when he had it rubbed, he couldn't believe that it went flat. It was like the bullet wound. Actually, you can do cupping on a bullet wound. You can cup scars. That's one of my favorite ways to deal with scars, is cupping too. And we also do lasering, red light therapy. That's very good as well. We have a Novathor here for total body scars, but they're really the red light therapy, the massage, the cupping. It's pretty amazing, even on old scars.
That's fantastic information. And as a yoga teacher, I would like to put in a plug for yoga, because
Yes.
what I find is that when you have scars, your body, let's face it, I'm going to use the word deformed, right? You're wonky, right?
Yes.
And by following an alignment-based practice, not
Yes.
necessarily a flow, but something that brings your bones, your muscles, and your connective tissue back where it needs to be. I always joke, it's kind of like you don't keep ice cream in the refrigerator. You know, you put things back where they need to be, put your bones, your joints, and bring everything back into alignment, right? And when we do these deep holds, I'm 63, so most of my students are older. And I hold the yoga poses for at least 60 seconds. I time it. And the reason is because when your connective tissue is hardened, okay, you've got to hold the poses long enough to break through that hardened connective tissue in order to reorganize at a higher level.
I love that. I didn't know to hold it more than 20 seconds. I tell people on beginning scar and beginning pain to go to the pose, hold it, but if it hurts, back off the pose until it doesn't hurt. Because if it hurts too much, then the swelling will start again and they'll re-injure it all over again.
Yes.
Love that.
In yoga, we call that your edge. Go to where it's interesting but not excruciating.
Yeah, I like that. Well said.
It's interesting but not excruciating, and then hold it long enough to reorganize everything.
I love that.
So Shannon Eggleston, I know that you know that scars can cause all kinds of things that we don't even connect to scars. How can scars cause arrhythmia? And what is arrhythmia?
Oh, sure. Arrhythmia, it's a simple matter to cause arrhythmia with a scar, because the meridian on the heart, well, let's just take a C-section. It cuts right across all 12 meridians. And then if you really didn't have a C-section, you could cause a meridian, just having a sunspot over your heart and have that sunspot become deeper and deeper. I've actually seen rubbing the sunspot stop the arrhythmia. I've also seen the C-section scar cause arrhythmia in a 70-year-old. And it was amazing. I said, what are you doing here? And she says, I think it's arrhythmia. I think it's my scar. Who am I to argue? And I did put the ASEA on her and it stopped it like that. Oh, she's a very good scar person. Arrhythmia can be caused anytime that you affect the thyroid and the adrenals. The adrenals and the thyroid would have to be, you'd have to be hungry at the same time. Adrenals are acted up like, well, if we all get upset if we don't eat. Understanding the meridians, but arrhythmia can go physically, emotionally, but on the scar, it is easy to have arrhythmia. It's so weird. You get a cat scratch, you forget about it. You don't do your wound care. Your meridian, you forgot to do your scars that morning and you decided you're just going to have a cup of coffee. You're not going to have any food. You do that that's a perfect storm for arrhythmia.
Fascinating. So where the scars that cause arrhythmia, where are they most likely located? Over the heart area?
Over the heart area, or like, you know how the meridians are farther apart, it could be in your fingers, in your ankles, and the meridian, of course, anything straight across your torso.
So by treating the scars, you stop the arrhythmia.
Yes.
And arrhythmia for our audience is irregular heartbeat.
A fibrillating heartbeat out of control for no reason. Well, we know there's reasons.
We know there's reasons. This is truly fascinating information. Now, how can scars cause back pain? This is such a huge issue because back pain is, people spend billions of dollars every year trying to solve back pain.
Catherine, you can have back pain if you wax your eyebrows, if you tat your eyebrows, because bushy bamboo, the meridian starts here, it goes up along the spine. If you have a tight bra, or you're a fireman or something that scars the back, and those scars along the back will also stop the flow. So just having back pain can be because of a scar on your toes. Scars on your ears can cause most back pain, though I really believe is oh gosh, I would say the most common would be knees. Knees people take for granted, and their knee scars are the stomach meridian. The stomach meridian is anxiety, and it goes to the bladder meridian. They're all connected. So knee scars, I would say, probably cause the most back pain. But if you're anything on the bladder meridian too, just call it anything. Anything can cause anything.
And the bladder meridian for our audience is the longest meridian in the body. Isn't that correct?
One of them, that's for sure. Starts right at the where your eyebrows touch your nose, goes right up over your spine, and then runs 2 fingers width down to the very bottom of your spine, and then goes down the back of your legs. So if you had a leg wound on one of them, just having a razor scratch on the, well, let's say your boots cause a scar on your left side, that would cause a back pain, because it's going to back that electricity straight up and over. So blocked meridians can cause back pains in a minute.
Now, so Shannon Eggleston, one of the things that people commonly reach out to me for is they have pain they can't get rid of. I spoke to someone today, and she told me all these things that she was doing. And I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just not done. So someone listening to this, we can go, okay, yeah, I admit I've got some scars on my body. How can a person go about mapping their scars?
You draw an outline of your body, and we do it. We have a little map. You can draw a gingerbread man, write down all your scars, and so that you don't forget. You take that map and you treat your scars twice daily. When I call it the birthday suit, when you're in your birthday suit, do your scars. Put your clothes on for the day, come home, take your clothes off, and do your birthday suit again before you put on your night clothes or whatever you're going to wear. As soon as you change clothes, it's great, because scar treatments, no matter what it is, it works great,
So great information. So what you're encouraging our audience to do is, if you know you have scars, to like draw a little picture of your body, maybe one picture for the front, another picture for the back, and map the scars so you can remember all the places to treat.
Yes.
I can remember years ago, or just recently, actually, in the past few years, seeing a friend of mine, and he'd had shoulder pain. Well, what I didn't know was that years before, he tried to commit suicide by setting himself on fire.
Oh.
And just absolutely tragic, and had burn scars. So what does someone need to do if they have burn scars?
I've seen it. I've seen someone have burn scars on their whole chest. I've seen someone have their burn scars from their whole body, their waist all the way down, like they were dunked in boiling water. You doing the scars the way that we talked about, rubbing 4 minutes twice a day with a correct oil, whether that's the sesame seed oil or the ASEA or the wheat germ, doing those scars twice a day really does help. It works great.
Very interesting. And what's interesting to me as we have this discussion is my friend who tried to commit suicide years ago before he met me. He has a lot of foot pain now. And that could absolutely be related to his scars, correct?
Correct, because the river of energy can't get to the foot. And there's nothing down there to help but build the muscle and keep everything alive. It's as if your skin's holding the breath. Think of it as an armor. Your meridians are an armor. Your skin is an armor. And when your armor, the electricity gets cut, you no longer have an armor down that sock. If you have a cut around your boot, you wore your boots too tight and there's scars, you need to rub that entire scar around there for the electricity to flow. And then you won't have headaches after that. It's kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying.
Now, what about, and you mentioned it, what about scars inside our mouth?
They're so important. I didn't even know. There's a map of how there's a meridian map for teeth. And we have lasers that we use with, I was taught to use a red light laser, and you can laser the scars. But if you don't have a laser, you just put the oil in and you can rub on the outside if your scar is in your gums, then you rub the gums from the outside, and you can do that to increase them. If the scar is on top of your gum, you can use a glove, or you could just use your own hand, make sure it's clean, and go in and rub the gum. It really does. Be gentle. Be gentle when you rub. Please don't blister yourself. Do it nicely,
Kindly.
kindly, lovingly.
And as we're talking about lovingly rubbing the scars, and you mentioned, are there affirmations that you use when treating scars?
Oh, me, it's better and better every day in Jesus, no matter what I'm doing. I think attitude is altitude. Come on, let's do this. Because sometimes you don't want to do something that you've done for years. Attitude is altitude. I always say that to myself. If I think I can't do it, I'm like, I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. So that's my inner dialogue, because your inner chatter is so strong. You have to be very careful what you say over yourself.
Yes. And as you're treating yourself and you're literally communicating with your body through your own touch. Yeah.
Good job. Good job. I say good job. I say good job a lot to myself. It's like, good job. You did a great job on that, because we need affirmations. I do know that when you're peaceful, things go better all the way around. And you know that because you're a yogi.
Yeah.
So the loving kindness changes everything. Somebody needs to hang up the whips and chains and do it with love, or don't do it. Because you're going to hurt yourself. If you say mean things to yourself while you're doing your scars, trust me, it's not going to be pretty.
Fabulous information. Now, final question, Shannon Eggleston. So many millions of women around the world give birth with a C-section. How can a C-section affect a woman for years to come? And what do women who've had C-sections need to do afterwards?
The body work is imperative. The first thing to do on a scar while it's still sutured, while it still has, I really believe in tapping very, very lightly, tapping around the scar, around the stitches, and tap it lightly. Bring awareness to it to start the nerves coming back. So your nerves have been cut, and it might take years to feel on both sides of the line. But so tapping the scar on tapping the wound, tapping the sutures. And then when the stitches come out, make sure to put the colloidal silver, 500 parts per mil, or I just want to warn, stay away from rubbing alcohol at all costs. It doesn't do any good, and it's just terrible for you. Holga Clark writes about it in her book. But I do believe in tapping gently the sutures, and then when it comes back off, then you put the colloidal silver on it, put some kind of lovely coconut oil or something antiseptic like coconut oil, and you can rub that, and then make sure to have the wound covered until it remains the same color. So I do love to use the silicone tape. They sell it at CVS, and then doctors have it as well. So you can silicone tape that scar until it is healed. And the way to know that it's healed, I really believe after, I think it's 6 weeks, ask your doctor, but you can get that cupped. And you can also doing cupping it after, but for the time between the time that 6 weeks is going, gentle, loving care And you'll know, check with your doctor how soon you can push on that scar so it doesn't become adhesive. So it doesn't just, and you can do the C-section scar easily, no matter how old that scar is. You can cup it, have it cupped, and it will be just like new. It really does well with scar treatment.
Yes, and from what I know, when you've had a C-section and you cut those nerves, then the lower belly muscles can stop working, and that can be a cause of low back pain.
Low back pain and poochiness.
And poochiness. You've been listening to the fabulous Shannon Eggleston, naturopath, and the author of The Truth About Scars and Roadblocks to Healing. You can find out more about Shannon Eggleston and her wonderful work at naturalhealingcenter.us. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Thanks so much for listening, and take time for self-care for your scars, and you'll heal yourself naturally.